unexpected terror fell upon passengers. But these were not armed men with a political or religious motive, but maggots that fell from the overhead bins. And so the question, as airlines cut costs, are unwanted pests just another pain for passengers? Bill Weir now reports.
It seemed like any other flight. A plane full of strangers headed to Charlotte.
We were told to stay seated, turn your software off, and we started to taxi.
Everybody's getting comfortable, preparing to leave, pulling out magazines.
As the U.S. Air jet taxied for takeoff, Donna Adamo and Desiree Harold settled in a row apart. And then, a commotion.
I'm just minding my business. And then the passenger that's sitting directly across from me, he says, "That looks like a maggot."
And I'm looking through the little crevice in between the seats to see what's going on. And she said the word maggot. And when she said the word maggot, I looked at the guy next to me and I looked down and I thought it was a piece of lint. And when I went to push it away, it was squishy.
Jury deliberations.
Donna, a former TV reporter, grabbed her new cell phone camera to document these squirming stowaways. And while this may not seem as horrific as, say, snakes on a plane, the sprinkling of larvae was enough for the pilot to declare an emergency and turn back to the gate.
The stewardess got in my seat and he lifted up the compartment, and he was just like, "Oh my God," and slammed it back down. So he said, "There's tons of them up there." He said, "Oh my God."
We were just clawing our skin. You don't know where they are, you don't know if there's more, and you don't know where they're coming from.
And you're not allowed to run away from them in this
setting. You are
setting.
told to sit in your seat and stay calm.
As ground crew cleaned and fumigated, passengers wandered the gate and wondered the obvious. How do maggots get on a plane? Are some airlines now so dirty that fly eggs are hatching in the overhead bins?
Well, yeah, I felt something on my knee.
And what happened?
Down, it was a maggot. Maggots.
Was it disgusting?
Very disgusting.
Tell me what went through your mind.
I didn't even want to get the hell off there. Get out of here.
I guess the bugs just began to fall out of the overhang compartment, and they tried to get us to sit there, but it was evident they were right behind us in our seats.
I got up and it went down. They were all over her.
Yeah.
They were all over her. And then we looked in the seats, and they were all over the seats. And that's when I got up. My seat hit her seat.
Well, according to U.S. Air, this was an isolated incident, and the maggots were carried on by an elderly passenger who had unwittingly packed a lunch of rotting meat. And they say since TSA is more concerned with weapons than vermin, there was no way to stop him.
We certainly don't inspect baggage as it comes on the plane. So I'm not sure how the maggots came out or got in the meat, all I know is that they were there and they were on the airplane and around our customers, and that's a big problem for us.
How can you be certain that it wasn't tainted meat that had been left in the overhead bin from a previous flight?
Yeah, we absolutely know that this passenger brought this bag on board because he told us, and when we took it off, it was clearly his belongings.
Each year, nearly 2 billion flights take off around the world, and occasionally critters catch a ride and wreak havoc. Insects can clog instruments, rodents can chew wires, and as Doug Herpsommer discovered on a flight through Vegas, scorpions can sting.
Just was getting ready to just kind of sit back in my chair and just kind of close my eyes for about 20 minutes, And again, that's when I started feeling the little creepy crawly thing crawling up my leg. Natural reaction was to kind of brush it off. I did that with my right hand, and that's when I felt the sting.
Finding a scorpion, finding mice, finding insects is relatively commonplace and should be expected. And that's why planes are periodically charged with pesticides so that you can eradicate some of these travelers that have no ticket, so to speak.
Dr. Philip Tierno is a director of microbiology at NYU, and while he understands the squirm factor of those falling maggots, he says we should probably be more worried about the creatures we can't see.
Generally speaking, the maggot per se doesn't hurt you, but the organisms that might be contained in that meat, for example, if it's beef, there may be an O157 E. coli there, or salmonella, or some other organism.
One passenger we spoke to actually found a half-eaten apple in a seat pocket on this flight.
Yeah.
So you could understand the perception that people are flying in sort of disgusting, unclean planes.
I think that is a fair statement. I do, which frankly is why we ask customers, you know, when you come onto an airplane, it's nice to think of the airplane a little bit like your own home. It's not just a place where you use the seat pocket to throw old apple cores and dirty diapers and, you know, newspapers.
While they accept no blame for the maggot flight, U.S. Air eventually offered $25 vouchers to the passengers on board.
I blame the airline because I paid for a service to get from point A to B, but the bottom line, I didn't pay to have maggots falling on my head.
So who do you hold responsible for this? The passenger who brought the rotten meat on the plane? Do you hold U.S. Airways responsible?
I think there's a lot of accountability. I think passengers can be more diligent, and perhaps airlines, all of them, Airline USA, can take a moment to look in the bins and clean them out.
I'm Bill Weir for Nightline in New York.